Call data records of RHEA Chakraborty, and Republic is the only channel to spot the biggest news in the call data records. Republic has spotted that RHEA Chakraborty was in touch with a senior Mumbai police officer. These call records are for a year, but the date and the specific time of the call to the police officer is unknown. 2 calls that were made to the officer and 2 calls that were received by RHEA Chakraborty from the officer. Our editor, Niranjan Narayanaswamy, joining us from Mumbai. And Niranjan, this makes one thing clear, that she certainly had connections in the Mumbai police and she was in touch with a senior police officer. But to get more details of whether these calls were happening before the death of Sushant Singh Rajput or after, what more can you tell us?
Well, I can confirm to you that there were 4 calls and 1 SMS exchange that agency sources have told Republic TV. First of all, just to tell you very clearly, what we know at this point of time is that it was a senior police officer. I'm going to show you, if I can ask my video journalist to focus on this. It's a senior Mumbai police officer. I've blurred out the number. In fact, what I'm going to do is, we'll get off this and we'll just tell you a little bit about the story itself. And the story is that there was a senior police officer who RHEA was closely in touch with, or we don't know what was exchanged in these calls, but 4 calls were exchanged, 2 incoming and 2 outgoing. What I can also tell you at this point is that the police officer is very senior in the Mumbai police force. We don't have a timeline of the investigation. It was in the last 1 year. So we don't know when the calls were made or when the calls were received or what was the context of these calls. But the fact is, calls were exchanged. And this is a confirmation that we can tell you, and no other channel is putting that out. And Republic TV is the only channel that is giving you the details. In fact, I'm getting in more details of this particular officer. I'm going to try and just crop the rest of the details out and just pull his call details and show it to you from the record available with us. In fact, this is the... If you can just bear with me, I'm just going to show you the details of the call record.
Also, Niranjan, in the meantime, if you could tell us more about the duration of those calls. I believe 1 SMS was also exchanged between RHEA Chakraborty and a senior Mumbai police officer with whom she was exchanging these calls. 2 incoming calls, like you're telling us, and 2 outgoing calls. So the total communication, as we have marked it out to be, 2 incoming calls, 2 outgoing calls and 1 SMS. What was this all about? What was the time? Was this happening before the death of Sushant Singh Rajput or after? Clearly, she is connected to a very senior police officer in the Mumbai police. But what were these conversations about? Niranjan, if you have been able to mark that out for us, tell us more, the duration of those calls, when were these calls exchanged, what was that SMS about?
Okay, now I think we can just show this. So I'm not putting out the full details because this is confirmed and these are verified details that we've accessed from our agency sources, and total of 4 calls. And I'm just putting out the details. I'm not showing the phone number. If my video journalist can just pan his camera a little down and show just this strip. If you can pan the camera and just show the strip. There were 2 incoming calls, 2 outgoing calls, 1 SMS. That's an SMS. 2 incoming, 2 outgoing, 1 SMS. If you can just kindly pan the camera down, you can just see that total of 5 times that they communicated. We don't have a timeline of when these calls were made or what the context of the calls were. What we know is that it was part of the 1-year call data record of RHEA Chakraborty. So why did RHEA Chakraborty get in touch with this police officer? We don't know. What was discussed in these calls? We don't know, we can't tell. But certainly the name of the senior police officer, the fact that a senior police officer was directly in touch with RHEA Chakraborty is something that raises questions. Now, some obvious questions that emerge, and I'd like to go across, just asking some of the questions out loud. Was RHEA in touch with the senior Mumbai police officer?